Hi everyone, this is CY once again. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm just going to do a quick review, or should I say a comparison between two different uh, hand grinder. Right, they are manufactured in China, and they are by the brand of Kin Grinder. Right, I think it has been reviewed from other channel before, but today I'm just going to do a comparison between the K4 and the K6 and their capabilities in terms of grinding for espresso and the taste from the two different grinder. By the way, how do you actually differentiate between the two King grinder, which looks exactly the same? Right, look at these two. Right, in terms of appearance, right, there's no difference between the two. Right, the two looks exactly the same. So how do you know which grinder is actually which model, right? So it actually is quite simple, right? This is actually the K4, and if you look at the burrs of a K4, right, these are the steel burr, which is black in color. There's a black ring here, right? So as compared to the K6, right, you can see that the rim is actually has a titanium coating, so it's actually more of a golden color. Right, so this is the K6, whereas this is the K4, right? And to make a difference between the two, I'm actually doing something to the top of the grinder. You can see that the top of the grinder is actually not connected to the cover. So that's one way for me to differentiate between the two grinder. And for the K6, I'm actually attaching the cover piece to the grinder itself, so then I can actually differentiate the two. So let's get started today. By the way, today I'm going to use the my vintage Faima, right, to do the coffee for today. Right, this is the vintage lever, spring lever machines. Okay, let me bring you to the other side and take a look. As you can see, it's a really beautiful machines. Right, fully original. Right, that's kept in the best condition you can ever be. So you can see how beautiful the light is. Definitely a centerpiece of any cafe. Alright, so I'm going to pull an espresso from this espresso machine here. Alright, of course I'm at my cafe. So let's get started on the use of the K4 and the K6. Right, so for the K4, I'm currently setting the grinder at a grind setting of 47 clicks from 0. And for the K6, I'm currently setting the grind setting at 39. So the two grinders has a slightly different grinding range. I read from the manufacturer side, the K4 is actually meant for more for the espresso grind, and then the K6 is more for multi-purpose. So I think in terms of the per click distance that you move, it will be slightly different. As in how much you actually move, I will actually have to find out from the manufacturer themselves. But I have tried to feel by the texture of the coffee, grinded by the current setting, which is 47 on the K4 and 39 on the K6. So let's see how well the espresso is extracted and how it tastes as comparing between the two. And for today's coffee, I'm going to use natural processed Brazilian coffee, which we have roasted in-house on the 27th August. I think by now, I think it's pretty well rested. So let's get started. Right, let's first start with the K4 and see how long it takes to grind about 19 grams of coffee. Usually on my Faima Urania, right, I usually grind about 19 grams to 20 grams of coffee, right? Because the basket I'm using is actually 20 to 22 IMS E and B baskets. So let's get a dosing cup. Actually, you don't need that. So let's dose about 19 grams and see how long it takes to grind the coffee for espresso. It's going to be tiring, but let's just give it a try. Okay, 19.1 gram. Right. Right, the grip on the grinder is pretty comfortable. Right, let's see. I can feel the resistance. It's definitely not easy to grind for espresso. This section will be fast forwarded so that you don't have to waste time seeing me how I grind this. Oh, it's pretty tiring. Okay, almost done. So the entire process takes about 1 minute and 5 seconds, so it's about 65 seconds to grind 19 grams of coffee. So let's move on to the K6 and see how long it takes to grind the same, right? 19 grams of coffee. Right, same thing, let's do 19 grams. Right, 19 grams exactly. Oh. So the K6 is a titanium coated process. Let's see how long it takes. The sound is quite similar. It seems at the start it is slightly easier to grind on the K6 than the K4. The resistive feeling that I have on the K4 is slightly lesser on the K6. Right, about 70 seconds, so about 5 seconds more on the K6 as compared to the K4. Of course, there's a slight grind size difference between the two. So around I would say that the two grinding time is really quite similar, between 65 to 70 seconds for about 19 grams of coffee. Right, so let's try to pull the first shot from the K4. Right. The smell is still pretty good. So I will be doing some part preparation, right? Because usually the conical grinder and hand grinder that grind for espresso usually will produce a little bit clumpy ground, right? So it's very different from the flat burr. So let me just transfer this over. We put the dosing ring on, right? So you can see it is quite clumpy. Okay, let me get the light over so that you can see better. I guess now the lighting is slightly better. Right, I'm going to use simple WDT tools. Right, recently I have 3 printed something like that, which is pretty cool. Right, so it's called the planetary WDT tools. So you can see the needles here, and as it turns, right, and I have actually inserted magnets. So as it turns to the top, right, it actually do the WDT. Right, so you can see now it's pretty clumpy. So I just have to rest this on it, and then spin. Okay, let's see the result, right? Okay, it's not too bad. Okay, let's do it slightly longer. Well, it's pretty good, right? So let's gently tap on the table. Right, you probably can't see very well, so let me switch to a lower setting. Right, so currently I'm using the MHW3 Bomber flash temper. This is actually the calibrated temper from MHW3 Bomber. Right, 30 pound of force every time. Right, is actually 38.35 mm in diameter. So it should hear a click. Right, probably I didn't set the depth to be deep enough, so let's try that again. Right, hear the click. Right, so it gives sort of a ring-like pattern, right? Because the bottom is actually ring-like, right? And I'm using the park screen from MHW3 Bomber as well. This is a very thin mesh, right? It's not even a mesh; it's a two-layer thing, right? The top is a mesh. The bottom actually has many holes. I think they will try to distribute water more evenly to the different position onto your park, right? So I think that's the objective. So I'm going to put it this way. Right, let's see how the pool is like. Right, so let me put 2 glasses below. Right, hopefully the first shot is going to do well. So this is a 9-bar spring level machines. So pool, I'm just going to do a pre-infusion. I think I've grinded a little bit too fine, but let's see how it goes. It's about, I will let it pre-infuse about 30 seconds. Right, I can see that no espresso is coming out, which means that the grind at 47 click is still too fine for you to extract any espresso, right? So it's too fine, right? So I think I guess I'll try another one to see whether the grind size on the K6 is better than on the K4, right? Let's just give it a try. Let's try the. I have a feeling that even on the K6, the grind could still be too fine. But anyway, I've already grinded, so let's just give it a try. Right, I'm going to do the same part preparation. Pre-infuse for about the same time. Right, it's still quite comfy, so I'm going to use the planetary WDT tools. Right, you can see it's pretty well distributed. Right, let's tamp it down. Right, I have a feeling that it's really too fine. But anyway, let's give it a try. Let me clean the park screen out, and then we try again. Right, I've really cleaned out the park screen, so let's leave the park screen on. Okay, let's try one more time, right? Right, this time is actually the K6 at 39 clicks. Right, so let's try again. Right, pre-infuse for about 30 seconds. Nothing is coming out, so I think this is too fine. But I can see that the lever takes a long time to get back to its position. So I think I've produced two consistently two fine grind size, and both are quite identical. You can see that, oh, okay, this one, the espresso is actually coming out slightly, right? So I think on the K6 I've grind a little bit coarser as compared to on the K4. Right, so anyway, I will be doing the grinding behind the scene, and then I'll adjust it and I'll report the grind setting on both, and then I'll come back and pull the second shot. Right, I've grinded again on the K4 and K6. Right now, the K4 I've adjusted to 55 clicks from 0, and the K6 I've adjusted to, let me see, 47 clicks from 0. Both takes about 45 seconds to grind, and after grinding the second round, I can definitely say for sure that the effort of grinding on the K6 is lesser as compared to the K4. Right, K6 tends to, I can feel that it's more efficient in grinding, and I'm actually using less effort as compared to the K4. Right, so K6 is much easier, slightly easier to grind as compared to the K4. Right, so in terms of grinding effort, I think K6 is better. Right, it's just feel less resistive and smoother as it grinds. Probably because of the titanium coating on the burrs. Right. So right now let's move towards the extractions of the espresso on the Fimer. Right. Similarly, let's pull the shots on the K4 first. Right, when you grind slightly coarser, it seems that the grind is slightly less clumpy. Still clumpy though. Right, pretty good. Gentle knock. Flash temper. Right, look at it. It's pretty nice. Let's put the part screen on. Right, and let's pull a shot. Right, the first shot is put through the K4. Right, so I'm going to use a timer this time, which will be easier. Right, when you pull down the lever, the valve is open, so now the water is actually coming down to the group to pre-infuse the park. Same thing, I'm going to let the water pre-infuse for about 30 seconds. Right, still no signs of the espresso coming out. Okay, you can see that it is already better than just now, but the extraction I think is still a little bit too fine. So even at the setting of 55 clicks, right, it is still too fine, right, to actually get a good extractions. Right, so this is the second try. The espresso flow is not very good. Right, I'm only getting about 12 grams in about 40 seconds of extraction, right, excluding the pre-infused time. Right, so this shot is not going to be good. Okay, now the other side start to have espresso coming out. Okay, for the spring lever, I have to let the spring completely fully extended before I can actually remove the portafilter, because there's actually pressure put up in the group itself. So I just have to let it slowly release all the 9 bar of pressure from the spring before I actually remove the portafilter. right? So still, okay, you can see that the level now spring back, which means that the pressure has been completely released. And now I'm going to try on the K6 again to see whether I'm actually getting similar things, right? And so this is now the K6, currently at I would say 47 clicks from 0. Screen on. .30 seconds of pre-infusion. I can already see that the coffee is starting to come out at about 12 seconds. Okay, we are getting about 40 grams, about 46 grams, slightly more than my usual extractions. Right, so let's leave this aside, and then I have to do one more grind setting for the K4 because it's still too fine just now. So I'll do this behind the scene and I'll tell you what size grind setting I'm actually using on the K4. Okay, now this is the third attempt on the K4. Currently I've turned one round and now I'm actually at 62 clicks from 0. So I think every 60 clicks is actually one complete round on the King grinder. So let's try again on the K4. Okay, let's remove the previous coffee first. Right, the puck knocked out pretty nicely. Right, I can see that there are some tiny indentation due to the puck screen that we used just now. Right, the puck knocked out really nicely. Right, it's pretty clean inside. Right, so let me show you the third time on how we prepare the puck. Okay, let's still use the planetary WDD tools. I would say that it's pretty effective. And now very consistent. I like the flash temper. Puck screen on. Right, let's try again. Right, shot glass. Just now on the K6, at 12 seconds, the espresso start to drip out from the spout itself. Okay, still nothing after 12 seconds. So I think the grinding range of the K4 is really very big for espresso. 30 seconds. It is still too fine, my goodness. Okay, at least something is coming out. Right, I guess I can further dial in the shots. So it is a little bit unfair if I comment on the taste of the espresso. I could have done one more shot to dial in, but I think the video is going to be too long. Right, so anyway, I think for today's comparison, it's not so much about the taste. I'll probably do a follow-up video on this one once I properly dial in the grinder and then show you the proper shots, and then we can do a taste test. But and nonetheless, I'm going to taste the shot between the two, right? So this is from the first shot, right? This is the K6, and now this is the K4, 40 grams. Right, so let's try the espresso. You can see the volume is almost the same. Right, so let's try the first one. Let me switch the camera so that you have a better view. So this is actually from the K6. Acidity is there. The mouthfeel is good. Balance of acidity and sweetness. Yeah, it's a pretty good shot, right? Let me try on the K4. It's still a little bit hot. Oh, the taste is quite similar, in fact. Yep, the taste is very, very similar, right? It is quite tasty espresso actually, but I think it can be better. There's slightly more on the acidic side as compared to the K6, but probably because the espresso has cooled down. So I think today's video is a bit long. Usually my video is not so well. I do not really prep my video processes. I just show you what actually goes through, right? So my video tends to be a little longer usually. So I hope you like my videos, and do consider subscribing to my channels, and I'll see you in the next one, whereby I will probably dial in on the K4 and K6, then we do a taste comparison. So thank you once again. This is CY. Hope you like my content, and do remember to subscribe, like, and share. Right, I'll see you in the next one.